I tried to tell you that the movie They Live is based on a true story, and you didn't believe me. But when I say I got your ass, oh, I've got your ass. So first, let me explain. They've been able to put subliminal messages into our heads without us even knowing. Not by using music or sound, by just using images alone. Take this picture for example. Squint your eyes and tell me what you see. They can put anything into your head. For the people that follow football, who do you think the best football player is in the world? Squint your eyes and tell me what you see. And again, I'm sure you've all seen this one by now. If you haven't, I want you to tilt your phone forward, squint your eyes, and tell me what you see. Oh my days.
Countess Bathory, a Hungarian noblewoman from the prominent Bathory family, faced chilling accusations of torturing and murdering hundreds of girls and women between 1590 and 1610. These tortures included brutal beatings, biting, cutting, and piercing with sharp objects like knives and needles. Victims were often starved and kept in inhumane conditions, and they endured the pain of burning and freezing as hot instruments and cold water were used against them. Forced labor added to their suffering, and psychological abuse through threats and intimidation compounded their torment. The charges leveled against Countess Bathory have sparked significant debate among historians. While some have described them as a witch hunt and conspiracy, others, including Michael Farren, asserted that the accusations were supported by testimony from more than 300 individuals, some of whom provided details of physical evidence and the presence of mutilated, dying, and imprisoned girls at the time of Bathory's arrest.
This is the most disturbing Brazil cartel execution video explained. The video that I'm about to explain is 6 minutes long, and it might be the most brutal video ever. The video opens up with a brief interrogation of one of the women. In the interrogation, she pledges her allegiance to the cartel, and the video then jump cuts and shows the same woman who at this point is bloody and beaten bad. She begins begging for her life, saying, "You could do whatever you want, just not that," referring to the man pointing the gun at her head. One of the other men then says no more chances, and the man with the gun shoots the poor woman in the head. They then check on her body, and the one man says, "I don't think she's dead," which makes him take out a machete and begin hacking away at her neck. The video then jump cuts again, this time showing the second victim, and this is where the video gets extremely graphic. The men order her to place her hands on a fallen log, which she does, and is then struck in the hand by the machete. They then order her to place her hands back on the log, and they then repeat this process over and over, until the log is completely covered in bloody handprints. She then holds her bloody and mangled hands up to the camera as she tries to hold back tears. The video then jump cuts again, and it shows the same girl sitting in a muddy hole, and the man carrying the machete then takes her hand and strikes her arm numerous times with the machete. He first breaks her bone and then cuts through the flesh, severing her arm. And due to the machete being blunt, it takes several strikes. Surprisingly, the victim doesn't scream, but she rolls around in pain for a few seconds. She then pleads to the killers to leave her alone. The man with the machete then orders her to raise her leg, which she does, and he then hits her in the shin twice, which looks like it breaks the bone. She cries out mercy and says she's about to pass out. The man then orders her to lift her leg again so he could repeat the process. He then says this again, but the victim then says she can't move. And in response, the man with the machete strikes her all over her body, all while she's still pleading with the man. And after several more hits, she says it's good enough, insinuating to kill her and put her out of her misery. After a couple more strikes, the killer breaks the machete, and the video then jump cuts again, and shows the second victim lying on her stomach with the killer pulling her hair to raise her head up. The killer then strikes her in the throat several times with the machete, and instinctively she tries to block the blade with her one remaining hand. The killer continues to hack and slash at the victim's neck as she slips in and out of consciousness before he finally beheads her. A third victim is shot in the head and beheaded off camera, much like the first victim. The killer then takes all three heads by the hair and holds them up to the camera, and the video then concludes. This video is extremely graphic and terrifying, and whatever you do, please never go seeking this video, because it will definitely scar you for weeks or even forever. This world is completely brutal, and this video is just another example.
Morbid Facts, Part 136. Actor Mickey Rourke was a heartthrob of the 1980s until he quit his acting career to become a boxer. After multiple facial injuries and botched plastic surgeries, he now looks like he's wearing a mask of someone else's face. United Airlines has repeatedly killed more pets per year than any other airline by far. In 2004, a depressed teen from Manchester used several fake online personas to convince his best friend to murder him. After surviving the stabbing, he became the first person in UK history to be charged with inciting their own murder. When Japan executes criminals by hanging, 3 different buttons on the wall are pressed by 3 different people at the same time. This is so that none of them know who actually did the killing, since only one button is randomly programmed to open the trap door. In 2016, Mark Hamill paid a visit to a dying Star Wars fan in the hospital. He then proceeded to answer every question as Luke Skywalker, since the fan could no longer distinguish between reality and fiction.
A lot of people are upset with what this TikToker recently posted.
Life, we're at War Edition. After hearing that there was a major lack of gluten-free, celiac-safe food at army bases across the country, we got together with a gluten-free bakery in Jerusalem to make sure those soldiers got fed.
Nearly 3,000 lives have been taken in Gaza within these last few days, and over 12,000 of them are injured. With half of the population being children, they are left starving with no food or water.
We have no medical supplies, we have no gas, no food, no medication. We have nothing. This is an urgent appeal. Please stop this humanitarian crisis.
And for those who keep asking why surrounding Middle Eastern countries aren't helping out, they've been trying. But prayers are working, because as of today, Israel says it won't block humanitarian aid from entering Gaza from Egypt.
Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. Have you seen pictures of him?
Can't remember what he looks like now.
Well, he's always walking around with a blue backpack.
Okay.
You know what that backpack is meant for?
Making it easier so you can use your arms?
Nope. He has that blue backpack, and it's called a nuclear backpack, which, if OpenAI, ChatGPT, broke it out of its system, it would remotely detonate all the data centers. It's a kill switch if this AI goes rogue.
What happens if Sam Altman
or gets mugged?
But yeah, is that not terrifying?
That's crazy. You think he would also just not say that, right? Because like it seems like a pretty valuable thing to have. That's nuts.
This seems like a band-aid solution. There needs to be like at least 3 more backpacks.
At least double that many.
It needs to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
We need at least 3 more people with backpacks.
What is this? A school for ants? It sounded like Zoolander.
I did it on purpose.
This Christian movement believed that the Christian God was evil. I am, of course, speaking about Gnosticism. Now, Gnosticism refers to a range of different ideas that emerged around the first few centuries of Christianity. Much of what we knew about Gnosticism was actually lost. Our knowledge of it mostly came from those that criticized it. Well, at least until 1945, as that is when Gnostic texts were discovered in Egypt. Now, the creation story in these texts is what's interesting. Now, I'm basically going to be presenting a very brief summary of a summary by the scholar known as David Brackey. So Gnostics believed that reality was originally just a single supreme God, so complex that our human minds wouldn't be able to comprehend it. But over time, this God started to produce other deities known as eons. It produced quite a few, and they were basically in pairs, having a male and female counterpart. Now, they all existed within this great spiritual realm. But here's where things got a little messy. One of these eons was referred to as Wisdom or Sophia, and she decided to reproduce without a male counterpart. So she reproduced asexually. And while it worked, her offspring was this deformed, twisted creature known as the demiurge. It was deformed, twisted, and evil, right? So what did the other eons do? They cast it out. It's put in isolation away from the spiritual realm. In its isolation, it decided to create its own realm, right? So it started to create its own eons and later our reality. But it convinced its creations that it was the supreme God. There was nothing beyond him, forcing its creations to worship it. But because it's so imperfect, its creations are imperfect, which is why our world is full of suffering and pain, according to the Gnostics. And according to the Gnostics, the demiurge is the God of the Old Testament. So the goal of the Gnostics, at least those that believed in this creation myth, was to realize the reality of our existence. Of course, Christians didn't really like this whole conspiracy theory about them, so that's why Gnostic texts are so rare. They were burnt, destroyed throughout history. Now, this is a very brief summary. There's a lot more to it, but perhaps I'll make more videos about it soon.
SCP-093 is a unique redstone disk, resembling cinnabar, adorned with intricate engravings and cryptic symbols. Measuring 7.62 centimeters in diameter, it alters color when held by a living person, with the hue changes believed to be tied to the holder's regrets. To prevent its unpredictable behavior, SCP-093 must be kept resting on a mirror under constant video surveillance. Should it be removed, the disk exhibits a peculiar phenomenon. It rapidly accelerates in a circular path, smashing through obstacles with astonishing force until it reaches the nearest mirror-like surface. Strangely, neither the disk nor the mirrors show any damage from these collisions. Notably, when held by a living individual, SCP-093 enables a unique form of travel. The holder can traverse through mirrors, leading to uncharted destinations. The circumstances of SCP-093's discovery and its initial containment method remain shrouded in mystery, prompting rigorous tests and experiments to uncover the extent of its capabilities and the significance of these mirror-based journeys.
Sometimes when you wake up, you have a random song stuck in your head.
Oh, yeah.
And you know why?
Why?
Your brain may have picked up like a frequency from a radio signal from somewhere else. Because you know how like a radio, if you have it beside you, it can hear music and it can play music. Maybe you can't if you're not tuned in on the right frequency. But what if while you sleep, somehow you're able to connect to that frequency and hear things that you couldn't?
No.
Now back this, right? Let's take it to a next level. Satellites are a thing.
Yeah.
And to see things on a TV through a satellite is a thing. Would it be so crazy that eventually there's a satellite that can put images into our head?
Oh, that's kind of bro.
And what if everything you see right now is an image that's being played in your head?
Nah. Yo.
Maybe we're just connected to something. An image that's being transmitted to our brain.
Maybe that's why like, dogs see all black, because that one satellite messed up or glitched. You know what I mean? But like,
Never Tell Me the Odds, Part 37. While filming the final scene of the movie Kingpin, where Bill Murray's character bowls 3 strikes in a row, Bill Murray actually did bowl 3 strikes in a row. His celebration along with the crowd's roaring applause were both genuine reactions. Enzo Ferrari, the founder of the Ferrari company, died on August 14th, 1988. Just 1 month later, on October 15th, Arsenal soccer player Mesut Ozil was born. Famous Austrian composer and painter Arnold Schoenberg had extreme triskaidekaphobia, a fear of the number 13. He ended up dying on Friday the 13th at the age of 76. 7 plus 6 equals 13. In 1913, a 12-year-old black girl named Sarah Rector was given land deemed unsuitable for farming. But it turned out to be rich with oil, and she became a millionaire overnight. She was known as the richest colored girl in the world, and Oklahoma legislation even made an effort to have her legally declared white.
Breaking news, a missing woman has been found stuffed in a suitcase in her closet and her boyfriend has been arrested. The investigation began on Saturday at 7:30 a.m. when officers were called to a scene regarding a missing person. Police say the missing woman, known as, quote, Mellow Yellow, was reported missing by family members. They told authorities they had not seen or spoken to her since Thursday, October 19th. A welfare check was conducted with family members at her apartment, but she was not found. While officers were filling out the missing persons report, it was said that her boyfriend, who also lived with her, was missing as well. In addition to her boyfriend being missing, so was her vehicle. As investigators were inputting the information into the database, they got a call back to the apartment around 9 a.m. that morning. That is when family members told authorities that they found a body believing to be hers in a large suitcase in the closet in the apartment. Within 2 hours, Atlanta police and Georgia State Police tracked the vehicle down to an undisclosed location in Atlanta. It was then that they took her boyfriend into custody. As a result of the investigation, he has since been charged with felony murder, concealing a death, tampering with evidence, and theft by taking a vehicle. They also stated additional charges may be pending. The coroner then was able to identify it was the missing woman. At this time, they have not disclosed any additional information, but I'll keep you guys updated. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
There is a huge difference between angels in Islam and Christianity, and that difference is free will. You see, Islam and Christianity are both considered Abrahamic religions. They do share a lot in common. And so both religions speak of angels. Angels in Islam were created from light with the sole purpose of obeying God. In fact, they are incapable of committing sins as they have no free will. In Christianity, angels are capable of sinning. In fact, many that have disobeyed the will of God have been banished from the heavens and are referred to as fallen angels. Which brings us to another very big difference. The devil in Christianity is understood to be a fallen angel. He's referred to as Lucifer. Now, but in Islam, the devil or shaitan is actually a jinn. And I'll discuss what a jinn is very soon.
Morbid Facts, Part 368. These are the hands of Japanese serial killer Tsutomu Miyazaki. He was born with a rare birth defect that caused his hand joints to be fused together, preventing him from being able to bend his wrists upwards. Two Mice Eating Cheese is the name of London's smallest statue, which commemorates two construction workers who died in 1862. They were scuffling over a missing sandwich that resulted in both of them falling off the scaffolding. Turns out it was just stolen by mice. The movie Jaws directly contributed to a surge in shark hunting and a massive drop in shark populations. Author Peter Benchley deeply regretted writing Jaws, saying, "Knowing what I know now, I could never write that book today. Sharks don't target human beings, and they certainly don't hold grudges." Today, sharks kill only around 10 humans per year, but humans kill around 11,000 sharks every hour. A 34-year-old man with ALS completely lost the ability to move anything, including his eyes. When a brain chip finally allowed him to communicate again, the first thing he said was, "I need a beer."
Did you hear that AI is going to be helping us talk to whales and birds? Within the next 2 years, AI is going to be able to start communicating.
I just don't know if God wants that.
I also don't want to know what's on the mind of a whale.
I do.
It's like,
Actually,
probably
a
like,
whale.
I hate humans. I hate humans.
No,
Like,
I'd be way more afraid of what birds think about.
I know.
totally.
What's your first question?
What you thinking about?
Mine is, what's the craziest thing you've seen?
I don't want to know that. That would actually be very interesting.
Dude, if we get,
Wait a
can we
second,
get a
wait a
bird on the
second.
podcast, please? Can we get a full-on sandhill crane? No way.
That was my turkey. I can't do a sandhill crane. It's too hard. They sound like dinosaurs,
dinosaurs,
bro.
Dude, they are
yeah.
dinosaurs, man.
Still sound like
It's
a
not-
turkey.
It's like,
I can do a good turkey.
Do it.
that was good.
Yeah, do that. There you go. That was good.
That's just with your tongue.
Are you working on any impressions right now?
Turkey.
The Boger swing, named after its inventor Wilhelm Boger, is a horrifying instrument of torture used during and after World War II. The torture is characterized by two vertical beams with a horizontal iron pole laid across them. Boger's method involved forcing the victim to kneel, positioning the iron pole behind their knees, and subsequently securing the victim's hands to it. The iron pole was then fixed to the beams, causing the victim to dangle with their head downward and their buttocks elevated. This nightmarish contraption was used by Boger to extract confessions from his unfortunate victims. The design of the device allowed the victim to be pushed across the chamber in a long, slow arc. As the victim swung back and forth, Boger would subject them to relentless questioning, gradually escalating from quiet to bellowing. At each return, a guard armed with a crowbar would strike the victim across the buttocks, causing excruciating pain. The swinging would continue, often resulting in the victim fainting, only to be revived and subjected to more torment. The beatings continued until the victim was left as a barely recognizable, bloodied mass. Tragically, most victims did not survive this ordeal, succumbing either during or after the torture.
This is why Drake's the GOAT.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like he's just the GOAT because of the numbers. It's because he's almost subconsciously tackles everybody to love him. Name another artist that goes and takes on every single genre, but doesn't just take it on, has a hit for every single one, has music for every single scenario, every single feeling. I'm pretty sure this guy he had all his emotions. Like, okay, a song for that, song for this, song for this. Yeah, and then on top of that, environments. Oh yeah, song for this, song for in the pool, song for at the house.
If you're directing a movie, every single possible scenario you can add a Drake song to it.
Yeah,
which is
bro.
That's true.
Real shit. And there's no other artist that can do that.
You're saying like, I wanted to make an album that relates to like driving down the 401 downtown late night.
Yeah, he said that.
It was like specific moments.
Yeah, specific
He-
moments.
He said he makes music to drive in Toronto at nighttime.
Yeah.
And then if you listen to any of his old songs and do it,
It's like
almost
perfect.
It literally feels exactly what it's meant to be.
Breaking news, a major manhunt is underway for a man who took the life of a Maryland judge overseeing his divorce case. The crime took place around 8 p.m. on Thursday in Hagerstown, Maryland. The judge was immediately rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Authorities say the victim in the case presided over a divorce case of the suspect. Authorities say at this time they are looking for a 49-year-old in connection to the crime. The suspect is described as 5'7", 130 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. They have found his silver 2009 Mercedes as of yesterday. The vehicle was located in Williamsport, Maryland. These locations are about 15 minutes away from each other. Judge Wilkinson, the victim, was a Washington County Circuit Court associate judge, and he was presiding over a hearing Thursday morning in the suspect's divorce case. This case was filed last summer. According to official court records, he was not at the proceedings. At yesterday's press conference, authorities said they believe this was a, quote, targeted attack. They also confirmed that the judge's wife and child were inside of their home at the time, but they were not harmed. Authorities also say the suspect is believed to have ties to many places outside of Maryland, including Brooklyn, Long Island, Tampa, Clearwater, Columbus, and Indiana. In addition to those, he has ties to unknown cities in North Carolina. Furthermore, the suspect was named in a domestic violence petition in June of 2022. However, it was dismissed at the request of the person who asked for it. Authorities say he is considered armed and dangerous and not to approach him to call authorities immediately. At this time, they are offering a $10,000 reward for any information that leads to the suspect's arrest. Authorities are urging anyone in those areas to remain vigilant. Keep you guys updated on any developments in the case. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
A hiker found a secret Freemason cave, and you'll never guess what he found inside. 2 days ago, a hiker in Oregon shared a video while he was wandering through the remote mountains. As he embarked on his weekly hike, it was only after 30 minutes of walking that he noticed something strange. There were footprints forming a path far into a plain. He decided to follow these footprints, and just a few minutes later, he stumbled upon a strange cave with a Freemason logo etched at the entrance. About 500 meters inside, he discovered 2 wooden benches, similar to those in a stadium, placed closely facing each other. Just enough space for a group of people to stand between them. Thinking nothing of it, he pressed on. But things started to get weirder as he slowly noticed shoes that could only fit small children scattered on the ground, which eventually led to an entire pile of children's shoes. And that's not all. Strewn among the shoes, a pile of bones of unknown origin surrounding a terrifying wooden chest. The contents of this chest literally shocked the hiker. He took photos of what the chest contained, but I can't post them here. To see them, click on share, then more, then photos.
Breaking news, a former MLB player has been arrested for taking the life of his father-in-law. The former MLB player, who played for the Minnesota Twins and 5 other teams for 7 seasons before retiring in 2007, was arrested in Nevada. Authorities have confirmed that he was the son-in-law of the victims. In addition, he had a possible connection to them as a former nanny. On June 5th, 2021, authorities responded to a call at the home in North Lake Tahoe. That is where they found the 70-year-old victim deceased with a single GUN shot wound. His 68-year-old wife was also SHOT and taken to the hospital, where she later recovered. However, she did pass away a year later. Video surveillance at the home showed a hooded man wearing a face mask and a backpack prior to the crime. Authorities continued investigating and working the case, and that led them to the former MLB player and his girlfriend. 33-year-old Samantha Scott was also arrested in Las Vegas. Both of the suspects face an attempted murder charge as well as a murder charge. At this time, they are waiting for extradition back to Placer County. Authorities have not released a motive for the crime. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
On May 5, 1980, a deeply tragic incident marked the beginning of this harrowing story. Marianne Bachmeier's daughter, Anna, was just 7 years old when she had an argument with her mother and decided to skip school. It was on this fateful day that Anna was abducted by Klaus Grabowski, a 35-year-old butcher who was known to the family. Anna had previously visited Grabowski's home to play with his cats. However, this encounter took a nightmarish turn. Grabowski held Anna captive for several hours at his home, subjected her to sexual assault, and ultimately strangled her to death using a pair of his fiancée's tights. On March 6, 1981, during the third day of Klaus Grabowski's trial, Marianne Bachmeier smuggled a Beretta 70 into the courtroom of the Lübeck District Court. She aimed the gun at Grabowski's back and fired 7 shots, 6 of which struck him, resulting in his almost instant death. Bachmeier was apprehended without resistance. Initially charged with murder in November 1982, Bachmeier was eventually convicted of manslaughter and unlawful possession of a firearm in March 1983. She received a 6-year prison sentence, but was released after serving only 3 years.